Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. A week after the Allahabad High Court delivered the AYODHYA judgment, what is the Congress Party's considered view of it? That's the key issue I should explore today with the party's General Secretary, the former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Digvijay Singh. Mr. Digvijay Singh, many Muslims have said in the last week that the AYODHYA judgment is preponderantly in favor of the Hindu position. In fact, the scholar Ram Gua has said it's one-sided. How do you view the judgment yourself?
Well, let me put it like this, that the Congress Party's stated position has been that we shall go by the court verdict. And I think in the present circumstances, there was no other way but to accept it. And I think the Congress Party has always been saying that this contentious issue should be resolved out of the court. But if they can't resolve out of the court, we should all accept the court verdict.
So when you say the Congress Party's position is to go with the court verdict, you're saying that you endorse it and you think it's the best verdict possible?
Well, I would not like to comment on the court verdict as such, but I would certainly say under the circumstances, I think it has opened up doors for reconciliation.
I want very much to talk about the manner in which it's opened up doors for reconciliation. But before that, let me briefly touch on some of the contentious aspects. To begin with, all three judges seem to accept that the site of the Babri Masjid is in fact the Ram Janmasthan. Two judges have actually located the Ram Janmasthan directly and specifically under the central dome of the old mosque. Now, given that we don't know when Ram was born, how can we know precisely where he was born?
You are absolutely right, Karan. But the issue is, which court can deliver a judgment on where Lord Ram was born? The issue was not that. The issue was the title deed of that piece of land. Who had that title deed? So that, in fact, the title suit has been rejected of all the people who have been asking for it.
I believe the Ram Lalla Virajman title suit has been accepted. That was admitted.
No, Ram Lalla suit was not for the title deed. It was for darshan. It was not for title deed.
So, in being asked to adjudicate a title suit, the court actually has gone on to opine and confirm where the Ram Janmasthan is. Do you think that they shouldn't have gone into that territory? Because it's given Muslims the feeling that the court has put faith ahead of fact, and that's worried and concerned them.
Well, at this moment, Karan, I would not like to comment on the judgment by itself. But what I'm trying to say is that the judgment has accepted the fact that there has to be some kind of a judgment where the people of this country will accept it by and large, and there won't be any contentious issues arising.
You're saying that what the Ayodhya court has established is that you need an end result that is reconciliatory and compromise, which everyone can accept, and that's the most important way of looking at it, the end result.
Absolutely. You know, in 1994, a most eminent CJI, retired CJI, Mr. J.S. Verma, had said that in this kind of a case, there are no winners and there are no losers. In fact, if the judgment goes against the one, then naturally the loser is the other one. So therefore, it can't be decided by the court in one favor or against the other. There has to be some kind of a judgment where there is a win-win situation for all.
And the end result, which is a three-way split, you see as a win-win situation for all?
I would say, I would not put it like this. I would say that it doesn't tilt either to the Muslims, not to the Hindus. But the fact remains that they have established the fact that the idols were placed in 1949. All three have agreed. Then again, the ASI findings have been quoted. I don't know how much is correct. But the fact remains that the demolition of Babri Masjid cannot be condoned, and it has to be taken to its logical end.
You mentioned two things there that I want to pick up on, because both of them are causes of concern to Muslims. First, they have used the ASI report, which is highly questioned by different groups of historians, some even refute it, to establish that actually a Hindu temple existed under the mosque, and two judges say that Hindu temple was demolished to build the mosque. Now, once again, the use of that ASI report and the conclusion that there was a temple under the mosque has disturbed Muslims. And so although you like the end result, the compromise they reach, this is one finding that worries Muslims. Can you understand why it worries them?
Well, again, you see, ASI report, which has been put before the court, it was open to cross-examination by all sides. The people who gave that report was open for cross-examination. Again, if there is an issue which can be disputed again in the Supreme Court, but again I am coming to the fact that this issue decided in one against the other will not really sort of create an environment of communal harmony.
You're saying, in fact, that if the court had decided entirely in favor of the Hindus or entirely in favor of the Muslims, there would have been communal disturbance. A compromise, an equal sharing, is the best way of handling this awkward situation.
Karan, if you see the history of Awadh, there have been innumerable instances where Hindus and the Muslims prayed side by side. And you should also remember the Nawab of Awadh has given lands to the temples, and even the mutt of where the Gorakhnath temple is there in Gorakhpur was given by the Nawab of Awadh.
Quite right.
So fact is the history and the culture of Awadh has been of communal harmony.
I take your point that both history and culture suggest that a sensible compromise is the best solution. But once again, in the process of coming to that compromise, they've come up with no real criticism of the demolition of the Babri Masjid in '92. In fact, to many Muslims, the reasoning in the judgment appears almost to justify, worse, even legitimize that demolition. That again is a third core of concern for Muslims.
There is no question of legitimizing the criminal act of demolition of Babri Masjid. This has to be taken to its logical end, and the guilty have to be punished.
So when the Muslims say that this judgment isn't upfront and open in criticizing 1992 and the demolition, what do you say to Muslims about that?
That was not the issue. The issue was the title deed of this land. And the title deed of this land, no one could prove to their advantage.
But you see, it's very interesting. You say it wasn't the issue to go into the demolition, the issue was the title deed. Muslims can turn around and say to you that it wasn't the issue to try and establish that this is Ram Janmasthan, but the court goes out of its way to establish it as Ram Janmasthan. It wasn't the issue to really try and use the ASI report, which is contentious and disputed, to verify one party's position that there was a temple underneath. But again, the court does that. So where the court finds it convenient, it goes into issues which weren't before it. Where it doesn't, it won't.
Let me put it like this, that this case was registered much before the demolition of the mosque took place. The case of demolition of mosque is going on in another court. So that will continue, and that should be taken to its logical end. This issue was quite different, and this case had been registered on which the judgment has come much before the demolition of mosque.
I've heard your arguments about faith being converted to fact, about the court's claim that an alleged temple was under the mosque, and even about the fact that there isn't much criticism about 92. Let me put this to you. How then do you respond to the fact that many Muslims are despondent? Some are actually dispirited by this judgment. You can't deny their sense of disappointment. What do you say about that?
Well, I would say that faith cannot be a fact in a court of law, in a judgment. Of course, this is something which the Supreme Court will deliberate. But I think there is no need for despondency, because the right of the Muslims has also been recognized, and 1/3 of that has been given to the Waqf Council.
even on that 1/3 division, it's based upon the fact that the court believes that historically all three parties used to pray at this site.
Yes.
But Kapil Sibal, your colleague, one of the country's most eminent lawyers, has said that just because you pray somewhere doesn't give you the right of possession. He makes a very good point. Hindus in Punjab have regularly and historically prayed in gurdwaras. They have a right to pray there, but it doesn't give them possession of the gurdwara. Similarly, how does the fact that you prayed at the Babri Masjid historically give you a right of possession?
Well, again, the possession has not been recognized by this court, and that is why the title suit has been dismissed. What they have suggested is that because of the request and the demand of the by the different parties, they have found a way out where some kind of a compromise can be struck by giving 1/3 to each one of them.
Can I try and sum up your position by putting it like this? You clearly are in agreement with the compromise, with the reconciliation attempt that lies under the compromise. You're nodding, but you agree with it. The problem is that in the process of reaching that compromise, there are certain findings that the court has adjudicated on, which worry Muslims, and where faith has become fact, and it shouldn't have. Is there not a mismatch between the two? The end is the right end, but the means, the findings, seem to be disputable and questionable.
Well, let them go to the Supreme Court and let it be decided there. But what I'm trying to say is, in an issue like this, what can a judicial pronouncement say? Faith cannot be taken as a fact. Of course, faith is something which it is quite personal.
You see, twice you've said faith can't be taken as a fact. Therefore, shouldn't the court have said, we can't determine whether this is the Ram Janmasthan. It is not for us to do. We don't have the capacity, and they should have avoided doing it. But they didn't.
See, the perception is that the Ayodhya is the birthplace of Bhagwan Ram.
It's only
Lord
a perception.
Ram, perception, and there are number of temples in Ayodhya which claim that Lord Ram was born there.
But this judgment has ignored that and has decided they belong only to one particular place.
Now, this is the idols which have been placed there. It became an issue that it may lead to a more kind of dispute if the idols are disturbed. So at the same time, I think in the present circumstances, there couldn't have been a better judgment.
There couldn't have been a better judgment. Yes. That is really your position. In the present circumstances, there couldn't have been a better judgment.
Yes, because it has recognized the right of the Hindus and the Muslims both.
In the end, the most important thing is that they've recognized the rights of both, and as you see it, there's no seriously aggrieved party.
You see, there may be aggrieved parties. If there are no aggrieved parties, they won't go to the Supreme Court. But let us not let us also understand that the demolition of mosque is an act which happened after the cases have been registered long back of this Babri Masjid Ram Janmabhoomi dispute. So therefore, let us not link one with the other.
You say that there couldn't have been a better judgment. What do you say to Muslims who say that this actually has muddied the waters and made the situation more complicated and more difficult for the Supreme Court?
I don't think so. After all, they have a right to go to the Supreme Court, and this can be sort of argued there. But at the same time, I would again reiterate that the best way to resolve this is to come to some kind of a reconciliation between the two parties, and for God's sake, let the politicians and political parties be out of it.
Politicians have no role to play.
We should not involve ourselves into this.
Let's then take a break at that point. In the limited time available in part 2, I want to talk to you about Rahul Gandhi. We'll be back in a moment's time. Don't go away. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an interview with Congress General Secretary Digvijay Singh. Mr. Digvijay Singh, let's come to Rahul Gandhi's recent comment comparing the RSS and Simi. I put it to you that this was ill-timed, immature and provocative.
It is neither ill-timed and immature. These are the two groups with an ideology of fanaticism and fascism. And they have been spreading the ideology of hatred. So they can be equated together.
How can they be equated when one, SIMI, is a banned organization, the other, RSS, is a legal organization which functions within the law? How can you equate the two?
Because SIMI, there were activists who were involved in acts of terror. Similarly, there are a number of RSS activists who have also been involved in acts of terror.
But that, I must tell you, is a very bad argument. You've actually gone on record in one of the newspapers to say that Digvijay Gupta, who's charged in the Ajmer Sharif case, is an RSS person.
Sunil Joshi.
But then if these two people taint the RSS, then what about the fact that senior congressmen like Jagdish Titla and Sajjan Kumar are charged in the 84 killings? Are you saying that similarly Congress is charged as well? Because the logic applies both ways.
No, listen, as far as Jagdish Titla and Sajjan Kumar are concerned, that was it was in the aftermath of Mrs. Indira Gandhi's assassination.
3,000 people got killed.
I'm coming to that. But they have gone to the court. They have been tried in the court. Jagdish Titla, by and large, has been acquitted.
Not Sajjan Kumar.
Sajjan Kumar's case is going in the court. So I think we are not going to protect them. But what I'm trying to say,
the RSS isn't protecting Digvijay Gupta or Sunil Joshi.
Let me come to this. Mr. Devendra Gupta, Sunil Joshi, Pragya Singh, Colonel Purohit, Devkinandan Pandey, all of them have the RSS background, and they have been implicated in bomb blasts in this country, which is an act of terrorism.
Mr. Digvijay Singh, Jagdish Titla, Sajjan Kumar have a much longer and totally indisputable Congress background. If your logic taints the RSS, then the same logic taints Congress. The problem is that your argument doesn't just prove your point, it actually works against you.
They were never involved in any bomb blasts.
They were involved in, by accusation, in the killing of 3,000 Sikhs.
One case has already been tried and has been acquitted. As far as Sajjan Kumar's case is there, it is under trial. So, but
doesn't that apply to the RSS too?
But you know, that is the act of, they have not been involved in an act of terror.
They've been involved in an act of genocide.
But that, you know, that did happen. We are very sorry about it. But the fact remains that these people were tried in the court of law, and you can't equate a bomb blast of Malegaon, bomb blast of Ajmer Dargah Sharif with incidents that took place after Mrs. Gandhi's assassination.
Many people would say that the genocide and killing of 3,000 Sikhs is worse, not less.
Well, it was I think a very sad thing which happened, and I think we have condemned that. We have said sorry for that, and we have said let the law take its own course.
Let me put it like this: at the moment, India is going through a sensitive period. The need is for peace, harmony and calm. But by saying these things, Rahul Gandhi is provoking trouble. Was it wise for him to do so?
No, he's not provoking it. The fact remains that both are communal organizations, both have been spreading the communal hatred.
But is this the time to make these charges publicly? Surely when you need cooperation from the BJP to maintain harmony, you don't want to be provoking them to anger and disruption.
Well, Congress party has always been fighting against these fanatics and the communal ideology even before the country became independent. So we have been consistent on this, that we are against communal Hindu and communal Muslim both.
Let me put it like this, and this is my last question. Many people believe that this stridency, this assertiveness in Rahul Gandhi has happened under your guidance and tutelage. Is he your chela?
Well, I think I must put it on record. I have nothing to do with this. He's got a mind of his own. He reads a lot, and I think there is no question of a chela or a guru or something like that. He's my leader.
In other words, the blame is entirely his.
It is not correct. You can't blame him for this, because this is the Congress ideology.
Digvijay Singh, a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure.